I knew him as a brother. So many others called him that. So many found him by their side in times of need, times when tragedy struck too close to home, times of confusion and despair. But I knew him as a big brother, a hockey goalie in the basement, a sportscaster shouting he shoots, he scores. I sat beside him in church while my wool trousers itched me to insanity. I watched his every move. Brother Paul. An odd-sounding address to me. I never thought of him as reverend or pious. I thought of him as a stabilizing hand in my life. He bought me my first brand new open-face fishing reel. Shakespeare, I think it was. He helped me put it on my rod and thread the line. He took me to the creek and he studied while I fished. No one had ever done that for me. No one has done it since. He was and is the big brother everyone wishes they had. He was bigger than the bullies in my life. He was kinder than the world around. He was just a kid and 16 years old in retrospect. But he had a heart of gentleness rarely found. Brother Paul. Brother Paul. One day he told me to call him if this new band played on the radio. I was in the basement in our bedroom. I was 10 years old. I hollered at him when the Beatles sang, "I Want to Hold Your Hand" for the very first time, if not the last time in my life. I remember the day he gave his life to Christ. The story told of him watching the feet and hands of the guy next to him, watching to see if the battle was raging in his buddy's heart as it was his. I had no idea what he was talking about. But that call ended up calling him away for good. You call him Brother Paul or Pastor or Reverend or Mr. Vail or whatever seems appropriate late at night, weekends and holidays. When you are at your worst, he must always be at his best. But I call him Paul. I rarely see him. I live in his shadow. I miss the hockey games in the basement. I miss the boxing matches with real boxing gloves. I miss the time I thought we had for a lifetime. I realize now the passing of it never to return. I hope you hearing this appreciate him. I trust the words and visits and sermons and hugs and board meetings and late night phone calls, trips to the hospital and funeral homes and bedsides for prayer and conferences and revivals and all the other stuff you have been in on his life are worth it to you. I hope you tell him. I hope you show him. He has given his life for your spiritual good, for your healing in the eyes of God. I call him Paul. He is my brother. He has left my life to tend to yours. He is my brother. At the end of all things, as life explains its plans to me, as God begins erasing days at a rapid pace, I look at all I see and realize there was no one else like him in my life. There was no safer shadow in which to walk. He left no stone unturned in the art of giving himself to others. I was just a kid when he left for school. I kept waiting for the day he would come back home. I had no idea that families separated permanently. I never knew the road he took to serve his God would lead him so far away. I had no idea that boxing matches and hockey games in the basement were over for good. Rain is sliding down my window pane. Traffic noise so constant. Life is what life has become with age. Fond memories of youth are harder to bring to mind, but there was a time. There was a boy becoming a man. You never knew him as I did. You know who he has become. I envy you. I covet the time you have had with him. He is my brother Paul. He is brother Paul to you. Take a few moments. Honor him.